Alright, welcome back to the channel, y'all. Let me set this video up for you, and then you can watch the video, right? You're not going to see my face again on the video. You will not see my face again on this video. You will see some pictures or whatever, but please listen to the words that are being said in this video. Jamaica is sitting on a gold mine, and Jamaica can actually lift itself out of debt. Right now, we just borrowed 6.7 million or billion US dollars. I heard the opposition leader, Mark Golding, said that a tiny percentage of that, I believe it was like 7 to 12% of 6.7 billion US dollars was a grant. Grants are monies you don't have to pay back, right? Right. Everything else was a loan that we, the Jamaican people, will end up having to pay back over a course of time. Now, to be strapped with that much debt, you must have a way to pay it back. I have a way where Jamaica can actually erase its debt. And it has to do with something that Jamaica produces the best of in the world. With that said, one of Jamaica's biggest mistake is that they continue to import way more than they export. I will leave it at that. Enjoy the video. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I will catch you on another video. Here we go. Jamaica, Jamaica. Welcome back to the SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. Jamaica depends 4 times more on imports than it does on exports. This is a conversation that needs to be had. So, I don't think there are any countries that can push themselves to first world status and increase their GDP and have the majority of their people living above the poverty line if that country imports more than it exports. In this world, you have buyers and you have sellers. And it's simple mathematics that if you are more of a buyer than you are a seller, you will most naturally have less resources or less financial resources or less money, because you spend all your money buying instead of you making money all the time. Such is the position that Jamaica has taken in my eyes. So there's a conversation right now about meat and food being shipped into Jamaica. And looking at Jamaica from a topographical view, you think the land looks so lush and there is so much growing from it. Food in abundance in some places. Why is Jamaica importing food? Is Jamaica not able to feed itself from its own soil? Okay, give or take, there are some things that are just not conducive to be grown in Jamaica that might be in demand, since the Jamaican people, especially the newer generation, has a different palate for taste, because a lot of them have traveled overseas or have had relatives who have shipped back things that they like that are just not available in Jamaica. But I mean, even more commonly, stuff like rice. There are no rice farms in Jamaica, at least not to the magnitude where rice could supply the entire Jamaica. So we could import some things, but importing as much as we do is crazy. Let me give you some numbers so everybody stays on the same page. Let's talk about meat. Just meat. Here's a meat breakdown. It says that overall Jamaica spends 89 million US dollars per year on meat imports. I want you to wrap your mind around these numbers. $89 million per year on meat. You have poultry meat, which is chicken, 20.8 million in 2023 alone. And that was mostly sourced from the USA and Canada. And then, get this, another 23 million in chicken parts. That would be like the neck and the back of the chicken. I don't know if they're importing chicken feet as well. So my Jamaican people, the whole heap of chicken back one I eat, it don't come from Jamaica. Them chicken that come from overseas, the chicken back, and the chicken neck. And you know, chicken back and chicken neck is usually, when I was growing up, chicken back and chicken neck was usually like well-off people would actually cook this up to give their dogs, right? To feed their animals with, particularly the dog and some cat if you have cats around the house. But of course, you know, poorer class of Jamaicans, or should I say lower on the totem pole, because you have lower, middle, and upper class. So middle to lower class and lower class along the poverty lines, these people would definitely love like chicken neck and chicken back curry down with some, or brown stew down with some dumpling and these things. Granted, these things taste good. And today they're seen as a delicacy because people in upper class regions, still love them dumpling with some curry chicken back and these things. But to know that chicken neck and chicken back, Jamaica is not producing enough of that. They have to import millions of dollars worth of it into Jamaica every year. It's crazy. Now, let's follow on with some other things that are imported into Jamaica annually that are going to blow your mind. Jamaica spends a lot of money importing, which means Jamaica is paying for these things. And we're also going to get into what Jamaica is exporting or selling to the rest of the world. Now, again, this is about Jamaica depending 4 times more on imports than it does on exports. So I went to go research to find out what exactly is being imported into Jamaica and how much are they paying for it. Apart from the $89 million annually in meat, mostly chicken meat, mineral, fuels, machinery, vehicles, food sources, and these come mostly from China and the US. These are the things that are mainly imported into Jamaica. Mineral fuel, machinery, vehicles, food sources, mostly from the USA and China. Let's start out with mineral fuels and oils. Mineral fuels and oils imported into Jamaica. Jamaica is paying $2 billion plus. This is actually the largest import category. 2 billion plus. You could see why though. Because if you think about it, mineral fuels and oils, $2 billion plus imported. And then second on the list, you have motor vehicle parts. Motor vehicle parts, truck parts, car parts, a carburetor, engine part replacement, whatever the parts are. We don't have factories in Jamaica that manufacture car engine parts for every vehicle. So obviously we're going to have to import, because in Jamaica we have all kinds of vehicles. So motor vehicle parts is another large on the list with $619 million pumped into importing that, along with the 2 billion with a B in mineral fuels and oils. And then in machinery and mechanical appliances, it's another $584 million. And then in electrical and electronic equipment, $381 million. And then in plastics, just plastics, $275 million. Get this, in cereals, and we're talking about, this is a significant food import category. Cereals, like cornflakes, cereal, yeah, cereals, $224 million in cereals alone. And then there's the category of pharmaceutical products, 198 million. So we actually import or spend more importing cereals than pharmaceutical products. And then, of course, the taxes. and the taxes and the taxes and the taxes, because you have import duty taxes, then you have the general consumption tax, which is the GCT, then you have the special consumption tax, which is the SCT, then you have the environmental levy, then you have the standard compliance fee, which is called the SCF, and then you have stamp duty, and then you have customs administrative fee, which is called the CAF. Taxes. Not to forget, there's a duty-free threshold of $100, meaning anything you buy overseas that is under $100 or up to $100, you can bring it into the country without having to pay these taxes. But anything after $100, if it's $100.01, you're paying these taxes, right? I'm flabbergasted by the $89 million that we spend annually on meat to eat. Beef, chicken parts, neck, back, mutton. And a lot of this comes from the US, Australia, and Canada. Those are Jamaica's main meat source. The US, Australia, and Canada. I know a lot of people, well-thinking people, are going to say right now, damn, if Jamaica is getting a lot of meat from the United States of America, one can only hope that that meat is not tainted, that that meat is not shot full of steroids and other chemicals, which will cause health issues to the population of Jamaica in the long run. Because obviously, as you can see, the hospitals in the United States of America are full. Cancer centers are full. Cancer is big business in the USA. Meat consumption and the sicknesses that go with tainted meat is an issue. But that's for another day. That's $89 million worth every year for Jamaica. And I got to ask myself, Jamaica has so much land that is not used, that is said to be owned by the government. Why is the Jamaican government not putting more money into farming to an extent where they would be able to supply their own with beef, chicken parts like neck and chicken back and mutton? Why spend so much on just meat alone? Cereals, I get it. Rice, I get it. But meat? Wow. And then, of course, we might want to start talking about Jamaica being a place where more manufacturing needs to be done. More factories need to be opened up, and more production needs to be happening in Jamaica on Jamaican soil. Imagine if Jamaica had factories where motor vehicle parts were manufactured right there on the island. Who's to say that Jamaica cannot get to the place where they can actually manufacture their own motor vehicles altogether? But that's for the far future. Imagine if Jamaica had factories where electrical and electronic equipments were assembled, manufactured there. Imagine if Jamaica had factories where plastic was manufactured there. Well, that's something to think about. Now, I think the saving grace for Jamaica would be the marijuana market or the medicinal cannabis trade, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, if you want to know what Jamaica exports alumina and bauxite, coffee, rum, sugar, pimento, yams, citrus, something called gypsum, and refined petroleum and petroleum gas. Now, on the alumina and bauxite part, there are a couple of companies that are involved in this, right? And these companies like Jamalco, Discovery Bauxite, Alpart, JBM, Cap, all these companies, they are not solely owned by any Jamaican entity. Jamaica has a stake of about 45 to 55% in each one of these companies. So they own about half of each of these companies. So alumina and bauxite is a lot of money involved in that, but more than half of that money leaves the island to some foreign entity. And of course, there's coffee. And if you lived overseas and you've gone down any aisle in any grocery store, you will see that Jamaica's coffee is not a big brand that stands out. It is more marketed as a niche product, and it's a bit more expensive than regular coffee. So we can't say there are acres and acres of coffee in Jamaica, and Jamaica is among the top 5 in the world exporting coffee, because it's not. So in hindsight, or in foresight, it's not really benefiting the whole island, so to speak, or moving the GDP. And then there's rum. Again, another niche product, because if you're in the US and you go into any store that sells liquor, yeah, Jamaican rum might be there, but it's not a standout product, and it's not something that is sold more than anything else. So they're not really exporting that much. Sugar, same thing. Matter of fact, I've never been to the grocery store, picked up sugar, and it said the sugar came from Jamaica. So I don't know where our sugar is going, but we're obviously not exporting sugar to a level where many Jamaicans are getting wealthy off of sugar. Pimento, same thing. Yams, same thing. Citrus, same thing. Most of these things come from Mexico more than anywhere else, and other parts of the world. Jamaica has a hand in the market, but not so much. Now, as far as the refined petroleum and the petroleum gas goes, those are primarily exported to Cuba, Mexico, and the United States, Bahamas, Guyana, Barbados, and Haiti. In 2025, Jamaica secured a deal to export fuel oil to Trinidad and Tobago for refueling their ships. So that's about it as far as Jamaica exports go. In short, Jamaica spends way more per buying imports than they make exporting. Now, here's a look, right, at the medical marijuana market, or the ganja market, so to speak. I've said this years ago. I said that marijuana could be Jamaica's saving grace. Right now, there's a story that they just found like another 200 and something pounds of ganja marijuana that was packaged to go. And 2 guys have been arrested, and they're going to set that on fire and just burn it. While there are countries out here who have legalized marijuana and who have joined the market and are making crazy money off of it. Let's give you an example. So following its full-fledged legalization in 2018, Canada has emerged as the top cannabis exporting country in North America. In case you're wondering if a country can actually export ganja, Canada leads the way. Things were not destined for good already in the first year of legalization, when the Canadian, it says things were destined for good already, when the Canadian market generated about 15 million US dollars in revenue for that 1 year. They legalized it in 2018, and in 2019, their first revenue gave them back 15 million US. And the numbers have steadily grown ever since. Canada exported almost 68 tons of dried ganja, cannabis, internationally in the first half of 2024. And then 79.3 tons were shipped throughout 2023. Canada is also a top exporter of cannabis oils for medicinal purposes. Because it's not just the plant itself. Other things can be made also from the plant. So why is Jamaica not joining this market? In the first half of 2024, the Great White North, Canada, shipped roughly 2,800 gallons of cannabis oil or ganja oil, while in 2023, it was around 1,870 gallons. Cannabis export now brings Canada more than 200 million US dollars every year. And following close behind them is Mexico. Oh, let's not forget, Mexico also controls Jamaica's two airports, two main airports, right? Norman Manley International, ran by Mexico. Donald Sangster's, ran by Mexico. I know when a lot of people hear Mexico, they think, oh, border jumpers, people running off into the US, climbing the wall. But Mexico is thriving. So our perception of how it's shown to us on this side of the border, not necessarily how it really is all around. Not everybody in Mexico is running away from Mexico. There are people in Mexico who are thriving, who are living really well. Now, again, Canada in 2018, when they legalized marijuana, between 2018 and 2019, their first batch of export gained them back 15 million in profits. And that's 2018 to 2019. In 2024, that year brought them $200 million. And that's what they've been doing since 2023, 2024, and in 2025. By the end of 2025, it is still looking like that's around where their yearly profits are going to sit. So we're just using Canada for an example. The United Kingdom is also one of the world's biggest producers and exporters of ganja. The United Kingdom, the UK. Jamaica has a close relationship with the UK and with Canada, with many Jamaican citizens living in the UK and Canada. Remember, the most Jamaicans live outside of Jamaica. There are more Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica than there are actually living on the island of Jamaica. UK and Canada and the United States of America are like the three main hubs, with Jamaicans scattered everywhere else around the world, right? So the UK is one of the world's biggest producers as well. The UK has dominated cannabis exports for many years. They were ahead in 2021 alone. It contributed to 43% of global production. The UK. That year, the UK produced a total of 329 tons of ganja for science and for medicine. And this is according to the International Narcotic Council Board. However, the main problem with the UK production, paradoxically, has been the consistent lack of cannabis medicines in the UK. So although cannabis is supposed to be accessed through the NHS for certain conditions such as rare epilepsy conditions in children, a lot of the families seek cannabis preparation in other countries overseas, such as the Netherlands. It's kind of strange that the UK is producing so much for the rest of the world, but it's not really available for their citizens. I guess because the world it's so much in demand, right? And then you have other countries like Morocco, and we can name Paraguay, and we can name all the other ones. But just to know that the top countries who Jamaica seems to look up to the most or are involved with the most, they are heavily involved in the global cannabis trade. Now, finding out about Jamaica and their involvement. So exact yearly earnings from Jamaica's cannabis exports, that's difficult to quantify due to the legal markets and its recent origins. It's newly developed. People are starting to get into it in a legal way. in a biased way if you ask me, because the old ganja farmers in Jamaica who have been farming ganja for as long as ever, they're being cut out the market. And it's mainly Caucasian foreigners or people with that type of background who are cornering this market. So recent data and projections offer insight into value. Much of the historical cannabis trade was illicit, illegal, making reliable figures scarce. But let's talk about what is now legal. So, legal medical ganja market in Jamaica. $1.3 million was made in 2019 to 2020. That's what they put on paper, right? Jamaica reported this amount in business to business trade among licensed operators between May of 2019 and July of 2020. 1 year, 1.3 million US. 2024 to 2025. Now remember, 2019 to 2020 is when they jumped into the market. Once you jump in the market, it's like you open that door. And now you got to open the door wider. And then you got to kick the door off. And then you got to explode the business. So first year in, 1.3 million, 2019 to 2020. 2021, 2022, I don't know what's happening there. 2023, things are happening behind the scenes. What they have on record now is between 2024 and 2025, the revenue for Jamaica's entire legal cannabis industry, which includes the medical and domestic sales, was projected to reach about 41 to 43 million US dollars. That's in 2024 to 2025. 2025 to 2030, they are expected it to go to 52.53 million. Again, cannabis can be a big part of Jamaica's savior and a big part of what Jamaica exports. It just takes Jamaica's government to get on board and to say, let's do it. That's it. So, as we wind this video up, talking about Jamaica's import versus export, as you can see, Jamaica is doing way more importing than exporting, and that's to the detriment of the country. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one, and do you agree that jumping into the cannabis exportation market would be a good look for Jamaica, since we already export so little but import so much? I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace. I'm out. Peace.